Get to the root of trauma. Sponsored by Parent Enhancement Program. It is that messy middle that we seem to store in our subconscious and we don't want to let it go. But it's that mess that is holding us hostage. So, we are a podcast that is very vulnerable. We share our experiences. We are vulnerable and we tell our stories. We also have guest speakers that are willing to share and share their experience with you. Please don't be afraid to follow. Don't be afraid to share, because the more we share, the more we are heard. Get to the root of trauma. Hey, Carolina, how you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm so happy to be here with you again, and so
Oh,
happy to have all our listeners out there. And I'm so excited about the topic today because it was one source of stress for a long time. And I know that there are so many families that really need to listen to this podcast. So before we go to the topic and introduce everything, Jules, I would like to remind our listeners that we can talk personally. You can have a time with Jules or with me in www.parentenhancementprogram.com/contact. And we also are on YouTube. So if you type activate your worth, you can find us there. You can see more videos and you can get to know a little bit better us and have some comments and exchange information following in our other social medias. And well, I don't want to lose any more time. I want to go straight away to present the people that we invite today as a special guest. So, Jules, can you introduce the topic today and our friend?
this is great. This is great. Again, I would like to say thank you. We have 19 people following us, and we do podcasts on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasters. So we have this special guest. I mean, she's very special to me, but she is also a special guest, and she's going to talk about from piggy banks to paychecks. What kind of topic is that? From piggy banks to paychecks. And I would like to invite our guest speaker. Her name is Amira Martin. And Amira, welcome to Get to the Root of Trauma.
Thank you so much, Jules and Carolina. It is such a pleasure to be here. I have so much fun talking with you ladies, and I am excited to get into it. Let's have a real candid conversation about our relationship with money, where it starts from, and what we can do to make small improvements. I'm telling you, small improvements can go a long way. But before we do that, everybody has a relationship with money. Everybody does, but it's one thing that we never ever dig into when we try to understand, why aren't things quite working right with my finances? That is something I think we all ask, but we never go or get to the root of why we do that. So feel free to interrupt me and engage at any time. But before I do that, I kind of want to talk about how my relationship with money began. Like right now, my profession is finance. I'm currently an advisor to corporate retirement plans. That's what I do. I'm also a licensed insurance agent in Delaware. But again, I've been in finance since I started my career. So I was very, very young, been doing this. But even being in finance as financial services for 20 plus years, even I've had struggles. And part of me, I've said, how in the world am I in finance? This is my job, and I'm having financial struggles. So let's get real about it. Okay.
Yeah, well,
But
that's
even,
relate to me, Amira, because I'm not in finance, so it's nice to everyone
yes,
understand that could be tricky for everyone, as even as for
everyone.
you. Yeah, that's a relief. So yeah, give us
Absolutely. But
some
it's
tips.
absolutely. And it's what we do, so it's just like habit. If you do something enough, or if you do enough of it over a period of time, it becomes habit. and you will be victorious. I have had successes. I've had moments where my credit was terrible. And I'm like, how did this happen? And I cleaned my credit up because I did a little bit of reading. I learned something new and I practiced certain behaviors. So, this is an ongoing thing. This is a lifelong thing. And what you do also have to understand is that, yeah, you have your own personal finances, but we're part of a global economic system, right? So whenever inflation hits, we're still feeling it, right? Like you might have had a great plan and then inflation and everything goes up in prices. Now you have to go back and recreate a new budget just so that you could afford your lifestyle. So this is an ongoing thing. And I don't want people to think, oh, once I get this budget down place, this is going to be locked and in forever. No, it's a constantly changing plan, but it's the habits that we develop over time that help us get a little bit stronger and build a lot more confidence. And I think once we have our confidence with finances and we're much more comfortable with our finances, things will start to move in a much more positive direction, even as you're working through the struggles. So this is my reality. And that's what I know. And I'm happy to begin my story about how me getting into like where it all began. Where did my relationship with money begin?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
All right. So every time I start this conversation, I begin with going to the bank and my mom opening up my first savings account. I received a passbook and I still remember it. It was beautiful, hot pink and yellow, which was strange, yellow polka dots on my hot pink passbook. And I was ready. I was grown. I said, I can't wait. Now I'm going to get a job. I think I might have been 13 at the time. And why my mom got me that bank account was because I took a little part-time job off the books, helping this care for an elderly lady. It was my mom's friend, and she let me. I traveled to Manhattan on the train because that's where I'm from, New York City. So I got on the train and I got my first check. It was actual money. It wasn't check, it was money, cash. and now I have money in my pocket. So I go and buy me some brand new sneakers. And what do I do with this? So I
That is so
bring my money
exciting.
home. Listen, I bring my money home. I do nothing with the money, but it's in my pocket. I think my hand was gripping the dollars very, very tightly because I think when I took it out of my pocket, my money was all wrinkled. But I wasn't going to let that money go. It's my first. I earned this, So I go to my mother. I have a conversation with my mother about, I needed some clothes. And I show her, I don't know what I told her, but I told her, I think I wanted some damaged jeans. It was a very, very popular jean company that was out, but the jeans cost like whatever they were, $20. I don't know. Back then, I couldn't remember the price, but I know whatever the price was, my mother knew that I could get like 3 pair of jeans for the price of that one jean, like that one pair of jeans that I wanted. Okay. So now that was my first, I earned this money. And instead of my mother taking me to the store to get this one pair of jeans that I wanted, she took me down to the bank to get a bank account. That was my
That
savings
was
account.
wise.
It's the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to deposit your money into the bank. And that's great because a lot of times, and this is how this relates to today, we get paid, right? Or maybe we have a big windfall and we never think to plan for that money. It's coming in. And let me tell you, if you don't plan, it could go out as fast as it comes in,
Very fast.
Right. So part of that is understanding that when this paycheck comes in, you still have to do it today, even through your bills that you're paying. You have to say, okay, you got to prioritize. You got to know what comes first. Like, I was ready to go out and spend my whole paycheck on one pair of jeans after having the conversation with my mother. Yes, I did go shopping, but I shopped a little bit differently. Okay. So that was like my first memory of like being an adult and handling my first, although albeit under the table, it was a real paycheck. It was real money, I know one thing when it comes to finances, and that is no two people are alike when it comes to money.
That's important. Yeah.
I know this because my grandmother, and this is interesting. I read a book called The Alpha Strategy. Okay. It's for my first adult financial book that I read. And when I read it, I said, wow, grandma is very different than mom in how they do things, but
Mm-hmm.
similar in certain ways. My grandmother was a woman, beyond her time I would say. She owned property, at a time when women weren't necessarily owning property, in America, if you will, a young Black woman owning property in Brooklyn. I saw that, but also she worked her job. She didn't make a whole lot of money. She worked a regular 9 to 5. She was how they say there was also a book called Millionaire Next Door. It's like these people are like the most
Yeah.
unlikely people that you would think would have all of these resources, but really she worked a regular job, and she owned her home, but it was what she did. So let's get back to that book, The Alpha Strategy. So I read this book and I learned, that sometimes the simplest things that you can do are the most impactful in your financial situation.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma used to shop for Christmas in the summer. I mean, we had sweaters, everything. We had tons of things, but grandma never paid full price for anything. So she was called what I would consider a super saver. And she had a strategy behind it, and it was very successful for her. She understood what her financial picture was. She knew, I work every day. I do this. I do, I know how much money I have, and I know the lifestyle that I want to live. In order to have that happen, I'm going to make a few adjustments in my life to have that happen. So that's a story I'm happy to share, because it also created that kind of thinking inside of me. Now, conversely, I will talk about my mom. Slightly different. Now she shops discount shopping, but she shops discount shopping a lot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm like, Mom, like, I don't think that's a great time to particularly purchase that right now. Like, I'm looking, but you cannot judge people based on how they deal with their finances. Everybody has a different relationship with money. And then I know I don't have a whole lot of time, but I did want to share one other story. And mind you, I teach my children a lot of these things too. You know what I mean? Like how my eyes see money, my children kind of see it similarly a little bit. You know what I mean? How they look at money, how they look at debt. I notice that they avoid it. My children avoid that. They don't like it. They're not
But
perfect, but
if you don't like it and you avoid it, it's going to become even
right.
worse.
Not to mention, I probably had like a projector up when they were kids and giving them money finance lessons, but same time to torture my children. But I remember I was dating this guy, and we're taking a ride. He's given us a ride in his BMW, brand new, beautiful, gorgeous BMW. But he also had a nice Infinity. But we also lived in an apartment complex at the time. And he picked me and my two boys up, and drove, we were driving back home. He lived in the same complex, and my baby was 5 years old, and he tells this man, this is a nice car, but where's your house? At 5 years old. Okay. And it's so funny, we laughed about it, my friend and I, and fast forward years later, it was a conversation that still kept coming up, and he was like, yeah, that's your kid. But the whole point of sharing that story is I couldn't even judge that particular person, because that person had a relationship with money that said, you don't die with it, so spend it. You understand? Some people have those kinds of relationships with money. You really
Mm-hmm.
have to determine who you are, because ultimately it's what's important to you and what feels best for you. So I don't, let me see here. I don't know how much more time we left, but
you got about 5, 6, 7 minutes. Go ahead, girl.
okay, good. So let's get to some meat and potatoes here, right? So I wish we could take some questions here, because I sure would love to hear from others about what their relationship with money is. But I really want whoever's listening today to think about what their relationship with money really is. Get to the source of that. And then if you want to change things in your life, you're going to have to write it out. You know what I say? Plan it, make a plan, write it out, work it out, walk it out, walk it out. Now walk it.
You are silly. Go ahead.
So no, but you have to have fun with it. I really
Okay.
believe that. And I
I
say,
love that. I love that because sometimes we take it so serious and it's so stressful that
right.
we even don't want to see it. You know, I really don't want to open that app in where it's going to show me where all my money went. And I hear about
Yes.
priorities. When you tell
Yes.
us
But
that about house, I hear some consciousness that become from
yes.
your modeling about priorities. What is more important, a house, a
Right.
car,
What is
my
important?
jeans, my bank account, all these things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to leave the listeners as well as you ladies with a couple of things that worked for me. Okay.
Yes.
When I joined the military, I went into the Air Force at a very young age. As a young woman. Again, remember, I had I had my relationship with money. I knew I had to. It got things done for me. If I wanted an apartment, I needed money. I needed a job, and for me, I had to actually figure out. And this is what I did. And this is something that you could also do with your children. What type of lifestyle do you want to live? This is always when I said, when you're starting out to plan. Anyone on this call who doesn't have a journal, grab a journal, because you're going to start planning and you're going to have fun planning. But I always start from a number. I always start from actually how I want to live. Okay, I would like to live in a very large home, maybe 4 bedrooms in this particular area. I like to vacation at least 2 times a year. I like pocketbooks and shoes, and I like this. And then I actually say, okay, well, add all of that stuff up, because this is a fun exercise. Add it all up. And that's the number that you need annually to support and sustain this lifestyle that you want to live. Okay. And I did that with my children. So it's a very good exercise when your children are giving you a lot of flack and they're talking about, oh, I want to live like this and I want to do that and I want to do this. I said, okay, do the numbers. Go tell me what that Lamborghini costs. Tell me what that mansion costs, where it costs in the state that you want to live in, and how your life looks. And then come back to me and tell me how much money you need to make annually. And then we can get we can get down to something like, do you go to
Yeah, we can
college?
get to the root of the
Right.
trauma.
We can get
Let's
to the
move.
root, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first, that's first advice I would give anyone, any friend of mine, is like, start with a plan. Really know who you are. What do you want? What's important to you? If you don't know that, you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. Also, I will say this: no credit, no credit, more problems. Okay, you know how to say more money, more problems? No, 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 no. No credit, more problems, and more credit, no problems. You're like, what? What does that mean? It's not true, right? No credit, more problems. It's not true. But we do know that in finance, that credit actually can assist you and it can be your friend if you do it the right way. What you don't want to do is rack up a ton of debt because you're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. That's what we do. What you want to do is keep those interest rates low. You know what I mean? You definitely want to ensure that you're keeping your debt under control. Do not live beyond your means. Live within your means as best you can with a plan. There's so much more to this, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but my first advice for anyone who is, just getting into their finances, they're like, well, what do I do? I've got to save for my future. Before you could even deal with the future, let's deal with the present. So, first things first, focus on building up an emergency savings. That's the first thing. And if you have credit card debt or just high debt, high interest debt that you just want to get rid of, let's think about a plan to start to pay that stuff down. And that's what I say. Simultaneously, I'm getting my paycheck. I'm putting a portion of this towards my emergency. They say you want to have at least 3 to 6 months of an emergency savings saved up, so that if an emergency should happen, like, hey, my refrigerator breaks, you don't have to go run out and charge it to your Best Buy credit card. I know this because I did that before, and I don't like that. Okay,
I know.
so right, but how do you get ahead of the problem before it becomes a bigger problem is have the funds available so it doesn't become a high interest debt issue with yourself. So that's why I say do it simultaneously. Build your emergency savings fund, start putting, and if you're training your children, teach them to start to have that 3 to 6 months set saved away. Then you tackle the debt if you have any, start paying down those high interest debts. Also, there are a lot of apps, Excel spreadsheets, and free calculators online that you can Google. One of the debt pay down techniques that a lot of people like is the snowball effect. I'm just giving you the name. You can Google it and look it up. And then the other one is the avalanche method. And I'm mostly a proponent of the avalanche method because you can pay down high interest debt fast and first and avoid having to kick out so much money. You're getting that debt paid down. And then you tackle the, you know, the lower interest credit cards. Or some people do a combination of both, where in the snowball method, they tackle the smallest balances just to get those nuisances out of the way. And maybe they might do that, some of that, and then switch to doing paying the high interest debt at the same time. But there are a lot of tools out there that can help you get started. I think that's a great foundation for people to begin there.
We are hearing a lot of great things from Amira. I know we're running out of time. So what we're going to do is, Amira, give that solution. Let's wrap it up because we only got 2 minutes, and I want to hear this greatness.
All right. Well, we're almost coming to a close. So that's where, you know, kind of I ended with that. I wanted to leave the listeners with something to work on.
Okay.
Like I said, grab the journal, right? Look at what you're currently dealing with, write out your expenses, understand your income, understand the insurance you're paying. Just really give yourself time, even if you do 1 page a day. Tackling your finances. Don't be afraid of it. Don't run from it because it's not going to go anywhere. And I always say that sticking your head in the sand does not make it go away. You know, you all should be empowered. There are so many wins, so many things that you have done as a woman, you know what I mean? As a mother, as a sister, as whoever you are in your career, as a professional, there's so many things that you need to be so proud of. So don't get discouraged when it looks, you know, you see no end in sight, because I promise you, if you do the right steps, you're going to get there. Understand your relationship. Once you get to the root of where it began, you can begin to fix and change that if that's what you would want to do.
Ay,
Okay,
that's
because it
so
begins with
amazing.
you.
It feels so relief all just to listen to you, and
Oh,
we kind of
thank you.
hope for some moms that are out there and really stress about their finances. And you know, we need to help each other, especially as mothers, because it brings stress to our family, and that's not good. You was talking about a conscious relationship with money. This is what we are talking all day long with Jules and the people we invite. Consciousness, planning.
Absolutely. Get together
I
with your
will.
sisters in a group with your friends, you know, like we should make it more normal, you know, normalize it, you know?
Okay. And Amira, where people can find you if they want to talk with you more, or let us know where they can find you.
Absolutely. Well, I am in the States, but I work for One Digital Advisors. They can find me on LinkedIn. I mean, I often drop a few, you know, nice posts, you know, and I'll be doing more. So they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Amira Martin. And I do work for One Digital. So if you see that, then you'll be able to, you know, to reach out for and connect with us. I mean, we have a lot of resources at One Digital for individuals. So, you
Yes.
know, if someone is interested, they can certainly, you know, reach out to me through LinkedIn.
I think this was an amazing subject. We are going to invite Amira back. We have ran out of time. You can connect with www.parentenhancementprogram.com/contacts. If anybody wants to reach Amira, you can reach her there. And I'm just going to say, I thank you to Spotify for having this podcast, and I will have to wrap it up. Thank you, Amira, for coming.
Thank you
Thank you
guys
so
so
much.
much.
Hope to see you another day. Bye bye.
Yes, best of luck to everyone. Thank
All
you.
right. See you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So, how did we do? How did our guests do? Don't feel embarrassed to comment below. Let us know how we vibe in your human experience. We are always able to contact or be contacted at www.parentenhancementprogram.com. Get that coffee break with us /contacts. You can also see Parent Enhancement Program on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Yes, we are wanting to be heard. Now, all you have to do is follow and share.